Hey folks, it's Alex Wiseman here. You have completed day one by this time, so congratulations. I think that's actually very exciting. I hope you're excited about it. I hope you were able to make an early start on the class so that you're not having to cram it all in within just the 8 to 10 day window. But if you are doing that, never fear, it is all accomplishable, and I think you'll find that as you move forward. Just stay on top of things and it'll be fine. One thing that I did want to say right here at the end of the first day was that you may have noticed, especially if you've Googled educational entrepreneurship, you may have noticed that there are some different ways that it is talked about in the literature or on the internet or wherever else. So I wanted to point two of those out. One is just exactly what kind of we've been talking about in this class, which is education entrepreneurship. And you'll see I have a website up here. It's from an online journal called Education Next, and this is an article from about a year ago that looks at different examples of education entrepreneurs. If you want to look at this more on your own, the URL, the website address for this link is right there at the top. I've just highlighted it so that you can see. But I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. For education entrepreneurs, innovation yields high returns. You remember that one of the things that we're saying about educational entrepreneurship is that it has innovation and it has risk. And so that is what happens with entrepreneurship. So you'll see in this article some discussion of the innovation and the risk. But what I think you'll notice, and this is something that I wanted to point out, that this article in particular and a lot of the literature that you'll find on educational entrepreneurship does kind of take a business approach. And I know we're using a business plan when we put together our strategic plan for later in the class. So you'll see that threaded throughout the course and throughout the readings. In particular, though, they do have 3 success stories. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Oh, look at that. The magic of the internet. I can. So they, in this article, talk about 3 different things. One is called wireless generation, one is called SchoolNet, and one is called K-12. And they talk about the venture capital that was needed to get it off the ground. They talk about the exit story, in other words, what happened, how did they end up, how much money they made, how much money they continue to make, and where they reach. What I'm saying here is it does have a very business and actually profit orientation. However, hopefully you've noticed, especially when we're talking about social entrepreneurship and how that is the version of educational entrepreneurship that I've chosen for us to focus on for this class, you'll notice that there are different ways you can go then, right? So there are some entrepreneurial ideas that may start out as innovation but end up being more profit-seeking. And so you'll have some of those examples here. So if you have a chance, read through this article. I'm just going to scroll through to see if there's something else. I feel like there's something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember. Well, I'll think of it eventually. Oh, I know what it was. There we go. Anytime someone talks about red hair, I pay attention. So this whole thing about for-profits are the red-headed stepchildren of the education entrepreneurship movement is actually a really good point. So there's a guy named Chris Whittle who started a program called the Edison Schools, which was a for-profit school model. And basically he said that, I think if I can make a profit with schools, I can run them more effectively and more efficiently than the government can. And hasn't been a very successful story. Looky here. Edison Schools founder Chris Whittle. So anyway, something to think about, the for-profit element of educational entrepreneurship. All right, let me reset the default. There we go. The other way to go is that there is a whole branch of educational entrepreneurship that focuses on teaching entrepreneurship. And so again, if you were to Google educational entrepreneurship or education entrepreneurship, a lot of the stuff that you would find would be about how do you teach entrepreneurship to students. Again, this often has a very businessy context, and so I want you to be aware that that is out there. This is actually, you can see that it's a PDF of a report that is for the European Union, talking about what makes an entrepreneurial teachers. And they're specifically talking about the teachers that teach entrepreneurship education, which I find fascinating. So they're talking about how do you become an entrepreneurial teacher, and how do you become an entrepreneurial teacher that teaches entrepreneurship education. Okay, so another resource you might want to take a look at, I'm just going to scroll up now so that you can see that this actually is this European Commission report called Entrepreneurship Education, a Guide for Educators. If you Google that, you can find it as well. It is super long. Let's see. Yep, 100 pages. So feel free to read that in all your spare time. Anyway, those are the two things that I wanted to discuss with you. One was that entrepreneurship education is different than educational entrepreneurship. And two is that there's often a for-profit and a business focus that gets mixed up in the social entrepreneurship side of educational entrepreneurship. Whew. I know it's a complex web we're weaving here, but those are things to note and things to take into consideration when you're looking up new material, or when you're Googling it, or when you're discussing it on the discussion board, or even when you're just trying to understand the readings and the videos that I've asked you to take a look at for the class. Okay, short and sweet, that's all I have for you right now. Congratulations on making it through day one.